Chapter 16 Differential Reinforcement. More of this, less of that. Dogs are great. They look at us as if we're gods, and then make us realize that we are mere mortals when we try to train them. Often they don't make training easy. While we are busy trying to teach a new skill, we suddenly realize the dog had added some weird and very much unwanted behavior to the training session. We then find ourselves trying to increase one behavior while decreasing another. There's an old joke that some people can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Simultaneous walking and chewing may not be a prerequisite for that, being a top-notch dog trainer, but having the knack for doing two things at once is. You'll recall from our discussion of extinction that simply ignoring an undesired behavior is not sufficient. At the same time, the inappropriate behavior is not being reinforced. It is important to reinforce a desirable behavior. The process is called differential reinforcement. Differential reinforcement combines extinction and reinforcement to decrease the probability of an undesirable behavior while increasing the frequency of a desired behavior. How is differential reinforcement used? 1. Identify the target behaviors. Which one will be reduced? Which one will be increased? 2. Choose the reinforcer. 3. Begin an extinction program for the undesirable behavior. 4. Reinforce the desirable behavior immediately and consistently. 5. Have an ongoing evaluation of the results. If the plan is not working, something went wrong. If it is working, generalize the behavior to some other setting. Variations on the differential reinforcement theme. Differential reinforcement can be used in several ways. Each variation works better in certain kinds of situations and with certain dogs, and like all scientific terms, each variation has its own shorthand name. The various forms of differential reinforcement go by the letters DRI, DRA, DRL, and DRO. The DR always stands for differential reinforcement, but let's look at what the rest of this alphabet soup means. DRI is differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors, reinforcing a behavior that is incompatible with the behavior you're trying to eliminate. In other words, if a dog is doing one thing, it can't do another. For example, dogs that jump on strangers can be taught to sit to greet people. Sitting is reinforced and is incompatible with jumping up. A dog can't sit and jump up at the same time. Jumping on strangers decreases, but more important, the dog has acquired a new skill that is an acceptable way of greeting people. With dogs that dig excessively, one recommended treatment is providing them with an acceptable place in the yard for digging. This is also a form of differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors. One way to reduce the frequency of an undesirable behavior is to reinforce a behavior that is incompatible with it. This is differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors. Digging in the doggy digging place is incompatible with digging in the bed of prize day lilies. Differential reinforcement can be used to teach dogs that like digging to excavate only in their own special place. DRA. In differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors, you choose an incompatible response and systematically reinforce it. But sometimes it is not practical to come up with an incompatible behavior. That's where DRA, differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors, comes in. With differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors, the animal or person is reinforced for engaging in a better alternative to the undesirable behavior. Although the alternative behavior may not always be incompatible with the undesirable behavior. For example, a hyper puppy that barks with excitement all the time might be trained to do some basic obedience tasks. As the puppy learns the tasks, it earns reinforcement by following a food lure to sit, lie down, and stand, and eventually the barking stops. Of course, a puppy can sit and bark at the same time, but it has learned that the alternative behaviors are the ones that get the rewards. In this case, timing the food reinforcer is crucial, so the dog does not get rewarded when it is barking. Differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors teaches a dog that acceptable behaviors result in rewards while undesirable behaviors do not. DRL, differential reinforcement of low-rate behaviors, is used when some level of a behavior is acceptable, but less is better. In this case, one behavior is reinforced only when it occurs infrequently. Differential reinforcement of low-rate behaviors can be used to slow down dogs that are performing a task too rapidly. For example, a service dog that is supposed to pick up objects and bring them to its owners might be trained to fetch, wait, in order to give the person with the physical disability the time needed to respond. Fetching might be rewarded only when it occurs once a minute. With differential reinforcement of low-rate behaviors, trainers reinforce behaviors only if they occur less often than a specific number of times in a given period. DRO, differential reinforcement of other behaviors, involves reinforcing a desired behavior when an undesirable behavior does not occur for a certain amount of time. In school settings, differential reinforcement of other behaviors is commonly used to address disruption in the classroom. For example, the teacher might set a timer, and for every 5 minutes the children are not disruptive, they earn 1 minute of free time. With dogs, differential reinforcement of other behaviors can be used to address problems such as whining when the dog is in a crate. If the crated dog does not whine for, say, 15 minutes, it is taken out, hugged, praised, and given a play session. If the dog whines, the 15-minute clock is reset. The case of Sarge described in Chapter 15 is a good example of how this works. Differential reinforcement of other behaviors reinforces the absence of an undesirable behavior for a specific period of time.